tell them check out the blog, bro. YouTube channel called MKO. It's pugilism, boxing algorithm. M stand for Marvin and Kevin's initials KO. Yeah. What's good, ladies and gentlemen? This is the MKO pugilism boxing channel, talking all things boxing as per usual. Right about now, gonna speak to you about an interesting one: the recent retirement of Oleksander Gvozdik, who recently retired from boxing. I'll just read his statement here from the BoxRec website. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, of course, and more content, of course, will be coming to you. So Oleksander Gvozdik, he speaks and he explains his decision to retire from boxing. He says the following: I'm totally fine with the thoughts. I feel good. I think now is the right time for a change. Because of the situation with coronavirus, I realized that all have to start almost from the beginning. First, no one gave me a chance at an immediate title fight. Second, there is an uncertainty due to the coronavirus. I am 33 years old. I am healthy and want to stay healthy. I'm looking for new opportunities in life apart from boxing. I feel stronger than ever. I'm glad I have my health. In 22 years in the sport, and I established a lot of connections with people from boxing and business. I'm not going to comment on what I'm doing, but believe me, it's all right. Let's see what happens. It will all depend on how things go in the business, but never say never. So he didn't want to disclose whether or not he may come back to the sport. So it's an interesting piece of news because Oleksander Gvozdik is a guy that still, in boxing terms, in terms of what he's done in the sport, he did make it to the top. He did win a world title in that fight with Stevenson. Classic fight right there. Adonis Stevenson. He had severe injuries from that fight, and yeah, so Gvozdik has decided to retire. I think he only had the one loss against Artur Beterbiev, the Russian light heavyweight champion, and you know, Beterbiev is a guy who he was able to beat Gvozdik in both the amateurs and in the professionals. So it's one of those things that he was kind of the other big guy out there. You've got Beterbiev, you've also got Dmitry Bivol out there as well. But Gvozdik here, he says that, look, he thinks now is the time for a change. He's speaking on the coronavirus situation. He's saying he'd have to start from the beginning if he comes back. And he says these words here that really stuck out to me. I'm 33 years old. I'm healthy and want to stay healthy. And you know, it's interesting, and I think in a sense I do agree with his decision here, because when someone that's a fighter, that's a boxer, utters words such as this, that I'm healthy and want to stay healthy, you know, so in other words, he's already got that foot out of the door, you know, where he's saying, you know, he's realizing, he's really sort of thinking about his health, that he wants to stay healthy. So he's not really thinking too much. His mindset seems to have gone off of boxing now. He's not really thinking about it. You know, he's thinking, well, he's probably thinking to himself, well, I've had a world title, you know, I've won one of those. I've beaten one of the best light heavyweights in recent times in Stevenson. You know, I've only lost to one of the best in Beterbiev. And he's, in his mind, he'll just be thinking, well, I've boxed 22 years in boxing, as he said, and you know, he's still got his health, he's still healthy, he's still got his faculties, because as we know, boxing is a sport that as I think it was Brendan Ingle, the great trainer from the Winkerback gym, said, that it's the only sport where you can legally kill your opponent. So it's a sport where it's not something that you play. You don't play boxing. It's not it's not a game. You know, it's a very, very serious sport where every time you step in the ring, you know, you are putting your life on the line. So I definitely see where Gvozdik is coming from here, where he's thinking to himself, well, I've got what I can out of the sport. And you know, he said 22 years in the sport, established a lot of connections with people from boxing. He said he doesn't want to comment on, he doesn't really want to say what he's doing next, but you know, it seems like for, you know, he's out of boxing. He doesn't want to fight anymore. And I think boxing's one of these sports where ideally you want to get in, you want to do the best that you can do, fight the best available, and you know, probably more importantly, make as much money as you can, and then you get out. As one man said, as Boxing Talk with Adi said, you know, you get in, you get rich, and you get out. And I think that's really what you want to do with a sport like boxing. I mean, this is a man here. It's a rarity here though, because I mean, you know, it's very rare to hear these words, because when you think about it, the story with most boxers is that they fight on for too long. It's very rare that you find boxers sort of retiring undefeated. You know, we think of examples of greats like Muhammad Ali, you know, who, you know, he was damaged by boxing, you know, once he retired, once he stopped. You know, we think of other guys out there, you know, you think of Joe Frazier. There's a lot of guys who you know, they've come out of the sport and they've been sort of damaged by it, because boxing's very taxing, and you know, you're taking punches to the head and the body, and it does take its toll on your body. So I think what Gvozdik has done here is it's one of them where it's very intelligent decision, because if the moment, I think it's one of them sports, especially professionally, where I think at the moment where you're thinking retirement, the moment where you're thinking, oh, you know, I've got to, you know, I've got my health, I've got this and I've got that, and you know, with the moment you start sort of worrying about life and worrying about things, and you start getting a little bit concerned, I think, you know, I could agree here with his decision to get out, because I think it's one of those sports where you need to be 100% dedicated. If you're gonna fight, you need to fight with mean intentions. You need to put everything into those punches. And I think with him, with Gvozdik, you know, I think it could even be the fight that he had with Adonis Stevenson that might have made a difference to him, because he will have obviously, even in those fights where you know, fighters have career-changing injuries, like for example, like Chris Eubank and Michael Watson. You know, after, you know, Chris Eubank was losing that fight and he threw that uppercut, and then there were those career-ending injuries done to Michael Watson by him. Chris Eubank was never the same. He was more merciful. You know, he was looking to referees to stop fights. He wasn't the same animal anymore. He was still, you know, still boxing on and still very ferocious, but you could see there was an edge that had gone. And I think it might be the same for Gvozdik. Maybe mentally, you know, some of these fights, maybe the Beterbiev loss might have done something mentally. Maybe that plus the Stevenson, you know, that could have sort of made him, you know, sort of second guess himself and think differently. So yeah, I'm not sure exactly what his reasons are, but you know, I definitely support him in his decision. I think once you start thinking about other things outside of boxing, and you know, boxing is not really the priority to you, you're thinking about safety, you're thinking about, you know, sort of your health and preserving yourself. I think at that point, when you start worrying about things, I think that's a great time to get out. So I wish him all the best, you know, Oleksander Gvozdik in his retirement. That's just my thoughts on it. Until next time, remember to like and subscribe to the channel. It's MKO Pugilism, over and out. See you next time.